Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedicte, and I'm feeling thankful.
And I'm Benedikt. Today is March 5th. This is episode number 218, and I'm feeling focused.
Ooh, focus is always good. Yeah. Great stuff will come out of Userlist then.
There's a lot of, I don't know. Like, there's a couple of great things moving along. And I've been talking about like how we want to be a little bit more mindful about the planning and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We're in the last month of the quarter. So we're like in wrapping things up mode. So we can actually push a couple of things live and not have them like stick around in limbo for the next couple of months until we feel like we should maybe finish them. So like right now it's finish it and ship it mode. And I hope we get all the projects done by the end of the month.
Ooh, nice. I was also a little bit, now I remember over the last couple of weeks in like, let's finish stuff mode, even like towards my family, because Lillian has been making this stop motion film where she's been cutting out cardboard, and it's like this one that she made, we were just like blown away. It's like a shark that attacks a sailboat and it goes down, and it looks really good, but she kind of stopped because she was missing some audio sounds. So in my like quest I was like finishing articles for Outseta that's been like hanging over me, and then I was like, Lillian, you need to finish this project because otherwise it's never going to be done. So I was like, what do you need? And it was just, she needed some sound effects. So first we tried looking online to see if we could find somebody of something, but then I was like, we could just record them, because she was like making the sounds she wanted. So we had like a little audio studio here where we started recording first with my mic, but it was much better just to record straight on our iPads. We were taking a hammer out, like cracking some wood for that like crack sound, and then she was chewing on an apple for the bite sound, and she got it done. But something went wrong, so it's like she needs to fix like one thing, and then we've told her we're actually going to put it on our YouTube so she can get she can share it properly. And she was like, nice. What do you write at the end? Do you write like written and illustrated by Lillian? Like, what do I do? So she also has to make like an end card. So she was very important to get credit, of course, for this movie.
Nice. That is cool. That's even better than just buying audio snippets like from Audio Jungle or whatever.
I mean, the production isn't as good, but I mean, this is a stop motion movie made by a 10-year-old, so
I don't think that's the point of the entire project.
Not the point of it. But it's like, so like, I don't know, because she started just drawing these stop motion things, because she's like, a lot of the kids in the neighborhood make Lego stop motion, so she's been like doing that, but I don't think she didn't like really get hooked onto that. And then I said, you can just draw things and just take photos. So she did that, and then suddenly she started with this like cardboard stuff, because then she could like move things around and didn't have to redraw everything, and it was like an organic process for us, or for her, I mean. And then she just sat like a full day like working on this thing, and I was just happy she was doing something. And then she was like, oh, I'm gonna show it to you, and we were like, whoa.
That's awesome.
This is pretty good. Like, can you start making little promo videos for Galleon? That would be great.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? So we're getting her into the business, and she's telling me these days that she wants to be a programmer like me, because she's starting to realize how like good our life is, I guess. Coming back to the thankful, where we have options. Like, I have options where I want to work, and we're often here when she comes home, and we don't have to stress in the mornings. And she's like starting to piece things together about what kind of jobs gives you more freedom.
Maybe she becomes a filmmaker.
Maybe she becomes a filmmaker. Who knows? That's at least is going to be our first hobby when we go sailing for 3 months. We're like, she's like, what am I going to do? It's going to be so boring. So we're like, you're making films of us on the boat. We'll see how that goes. If she just gets like tired of it, or if it sparks something.
Maybe she can like get like real audio footage of a shark attacking a sailboat. Then, well, hopefully not. Anyways,
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully
what
not.
else has been going on?
What else has been going on? Well, on the film front, I spent almost half a day or almost a full day being filmed for this thing that I
Mm.
can't announce yet. And that just made me thankful that I didn't go further down like the influencer path because OMG, it's pretty exhausting having to walk in the door to the cafe like 5 times to get the different angles and then pretend typing because my normal typing was too slow for it to like look interesting. So I'm like typing programming, like in the in the movies.
Uh,
And then having
uh,
pretend meetings and no, but I think it's going to be good. It was a fun day, but I was exhausted and I realized that
yeah.
you know, I wouldn't want to do this every day. Having to like walk into a coffee shop, then go back out, put up the camera, walk in again. And like, when you start thinking about what these influencers are doing behind the scenes, yeah, not for me.
It's not as fun as it looks, I guess.
No, and this time, like the guy was doing everything. Like I just had to, walk through
You
the
didn't even have
door.
to think about it, right?
No, I didn't even have to think about it. And still I was like, yeah. So in 2 weeks, I'll tell you all about what is happening. It's kind of fun. And then other than that, I guess I'll need to check my notes. I have such a bad memory. We did launch Galleon.tools as promised, which is going to
Woohoo!
be our little suites of tool for getting data onto Webflow pages with just data attributes. But I didn't get much more done. So I'm promising again by next recording, I will actually have a version of the script that the Webflow folks need to add to their site to get public. So let's just start with like public data and a proper example demo of that on the page. Because I think when people see that, it's gonna be a little bit mind blowing. And hopefully we can push that out and get some signups. I think we have about 3 signups at this point. But the one guy is super excited. I've been talking, he's gonna be like my what do we call it? Like first customer, like founding customer, or he's very involved, so he want to see this happen. So he's like giving feedback, and he wants to um, see it happen. So that's cool. That's cool. So in 2 weeks, I will have pushed a live script. Needs to happen.
Sounds like the episode in 2 weeks will be pretty interesting.
Pretty? Oh, it's so interesting. But other than planning and polishing or being focused, what are you up to, or what have you been up to?
um, yeah, basically that. Like, if I think about it, like, not a lot of other stuff happened. Which, in a way, I guess, if the goal is to wrap things up and be focused, I guess that's a good thing. So, yeah, I think I mentioned this last time we talked. We are building a transactional messages API and build some UI for this by now. So you can now like there's a new section in the app. Basically, we can just like manage your like transactional messages, like password resets and I don't know payment confirmation, and you just create the emails there, and then there's a dedicated API endpoint that you can send a request to, maybe some like add some additional data, and then we will just render that email based on the template, merge in the data that you send over, and then just send it out. And yeah, that
I'm
all of this
super
stuff is
excited about
working.
this for you because I was I was looking because we're looking at Laravel, and everybody is hyped on Laravel these days
Right.
again. Um, and most of the stuff comes out of the box, and I guess that's what you're used to with Rails too. Like it's very easy to get started with like users and creating like
Right.
having user accounts and that part of things. But as soon as you get into email, you have to connect to something, you know,
Yes.
to
Yes.
get
But
either. I mean, you could send it out yourself via like a what is it, like SMTP send on your server, but like that's not
right.
going to fly for very long. So I feel like being able to hook into these like Laravel and Rails, where you pretty much have everything. You don't need many services, but I do think you do need email services, right? Both the
Right.
marketing ones and the transactional ones.
Right. There's
Um,
a little bit of a caveat to that in terms of like, for now at least, we're not allowing you to send like fully ready rendered emails through that
mhm,
endpoint. It's more
mhm.
like, here's the template and here's the data, and then build me that email and send it out. So it doesn't work out of the box with like Rails or Laravel. But yeah, I mean, in theory, we could just like improve it to just like take fully rendered emails and then send like render those or like send out those. Um,
But
but
would it
then
work? Couldn't I send the data and the template ID to your transactional email and then it's sent? Like what isn't working? Like if there's an
yeah,
API there,
that
I didn't
that
understand.
part is working. But like those framework like Rails and
Mm.
Laravel, they render the email, right? Like they actually render the
Oh
entire email.
yeah, but I don't think everybody would want that though. I think you could send off a transactional endpoint, like if you have an endpoint and give up control over that.
Right, yeah, but I guess that's the part that
Hmm.
we'd still have to figure out, is like how we
Hmm.
hook this into. And I guess it's on my to-do list to figure this out. But ideally, we can just hook into that stuff and figure out a way how to just like pass over the ID and the data and do all the rendering on the server side. Because ultimately, the big upside is that everything is in one place. You get a reporting for everything. You know exactly what emails a user
Hmm.
receives through all of your channels, and you get the click tracking and open tracking if you want that, or not if you disable it, of course. And
Hmm.
yeah, like I feel like is it the last missing piece? Probably not. There's probably more, but
There's always more.
there's always more. But it's like one of the things that we currently don't do well, or like don't do at all, I guess. And
Hmm.
then I guess we have like 90% of your email needs covered, hopefully. So that's exciting, and it's coming along nicely. Still needs a little bit of polish, but for the most part, the idea is working. And I think we have the first customer interested in testing it. So let's see. Maybe we'll just polish it a little bit more this week and then enable it for this one customer. So yeah, that's one of the project that has been going on. Before I continue with more of my stuff, why don't you tell me what else has been happening with you?
Well, you might be hearing some noises in the background, and that's because we're recording on a Wednesday, and as a family, we've now started climbing on Wednesdays. We've only
Oh,
done it once, but let's just get ahead of ourselves. But um, it was super fun, and Lillian loves it. And she's at that age where she needs to find some sort of like sport because they stop playing, and
right.
if they don't play, then they don't move at all. So climbing is good for all of us, and it's a fun sport that everybody can do on like their own level. So we could all be in the same place and do it at our own level and still be together. So I was obviously worst. I got like halfway up one wall, but I got tired and I got to exercise all of those, shoulder, arm muscles that you don't
Right.
do or that you need to like move after been sitting coding for a whole day. So they're organizing that in the background because she has to get home quickly and we need to get because what we learned last time is we need to bring a lot of food because it's pretty tiring and she like crashed completely. But she was climbing for an hour and a half straight. Like I climbed for like
Oh
20
wow.
minutes and then I was done. But she just kept on climbing. But other than that, in really good news, Outseta's had its best month ever in collected revenue.
Wow.
So
That's
that's pretty
amazing.
cool. So
Congrats.
we're still not growing like account wise as much as we'd like, but since we are taking a little percentage of what our customers make, they are making more, so we are making more, and that's pretty cool. And we're also seeing a great success with migrating people off of Webflow members, which is being sunset. And they've been giving people. First, they were saying it was going to happen like around this, I think, sometime in the spring, but they extended it until the end of the year. So,
Hmm.
hopefully, we'll get more and more of those Webflow member users coming in throughout the year. And then Framer, I'm seeing, I just looked at the Search Console numbers that came in. Like I get like a Google Console report in my email every now and then. And trending on both our documentation site and our regular site is Framer. So yeah, I need to give the Framer plugin another round of polish, I guess, and then do some proper marketing for that, because I haven't really written the guide on that yet. I kind of want to write that after this round of polish. I don't have to change out every screenshot or like change the video I end up making. So that will be kind of my focus, I guess, in the couple of weeks, in the next couple of weeks for Outseta, is to make sure that the Framer plugin is working as intended, and maybe do some user testing and try to improve, because we are getting some of the same questions on support again and again. So I'm gonna try and fix those. Yeah, so that's it. And then I was cutting up a webinar for Outseta. That was actually happened a year ago, to add to search, but it turns out like it's very it was a webinar with a guy called Jay Akenso, and he says some really cool things about AI and how we can, like, as marketers, position ourselves against it, I guess. Like, he was like, AI
Mm-hmm.
is trained on all of the internet's content while you are trained on your lived experience. Some like quotes like that I think are pretty, they're pretty spot on, like where we're at
Mm-hmm.
now, where many more people are talking about AI. So hopefully we're going to get those out. But then I realized I'm going to do like a little sprint where I just record a ton of little tips and tricks, outside of tips and tricks for shorts, and where I don't show my face, because it's such a less of like a hassle to record these things if I just record them without my face on them and have to get that to sync with, everything. So I'm going to test that and see how that goes, just like a little tiny marketing experiment for Outseta. Because for the last articles I made, I just made like no face videos to explain some things, and I just noticed like how how much easier that was. You don't have to clean
Right.
up behind
Yeah. Yeah.
yourself. You don't have to make sure that any of the lighting works. You can just like be in your pajamas and hit record, and it gives people the information they need. And I've seen VS Code do some of these in shorts where like it's actually pretty beneficial. Like when you're swiping and it's like, oh, I didn't know that, and then you just keep on
Mm-hmm.
swiping. But it gives you a little like hit of knowledge while you're doom scrolling. So I'm gonna try to do that as well, but maybe not in the next 2 weeks. Framer first, and then I'll see if I do.
Yeah, I always keep like thinking we should do more of those as well, but then it for some reason never happens, because I guess other stuff is more important, or we just don't prioritize it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, stuff like that is super valuable, I think, because as you said, like a lot of stuff is out there and possible, but no one knows about it, because like unless they accidentally stumble upon it, how would they know, right? So I think, yeah, we should probably do that more. But
Yeah, and we've also had questions like, what's new? Like, I saw this new thing that came into Outseta. Like, how can I get notified about this new stuff? And the only
right.
thing we have now is an email. We have like a company update that comes out. I think Jeff does every month, or is it every quarter, where he kind of lists the new stuff. But that also got me thinking that every one of those new things could also just be like a tiny short, and also maybe we should have more of like a public, um not roadmap, the opposite of roadmap, change log.
Changelog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a public change log?
We used to, but we stopped doing that. I'm conflicted about them.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, they're good in terms of like showing what's new and stuff like that, but also if they're not updated for like 6 weeks, it all automatically looks like, nothing's happening, while you might be working on the biggest new stuff ever.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
so
I'm wondering
yeah.
if it could be done a little bit like you sometimes do with a blog, where you just remove the dates, where just like these are the new features. So if you happen to go on that page and you've been a long time user, you just can like scroll through and be like, oh, I didn't know about these, and then you get to the ones then okay, you've been updated, so that it feels less like we're not doing anything.
Right. But then again, Like, isn't that like just your features page?
I guess, but there are like tiny features where you don't put them on the features page where it's like now you
Right,
can. I don't remember which one. What was one of the? We added like a new notification to. So we have what we call notifications that are you could
right,
either send an email on that to yourself or it could be sent to a webhook, and it's like we've added an event like that is
right.
not becoming a part of the feature page. The feature
Yeah,
page is
yeah.
like you can subscribe to events, but having
True,
added or
true.
like we
Yeah.
added one, you can now fetch a deal via email address in the Zapier integration. Also
Hmm.
not on the feature page, but for the
Right.
people interested, it is. I don't know. So for now, it's just going to be those blog posts, I guess. But taking some of those and making little shorts could be a way to kind of reach the people who are interested in like following Outseta in different
Right.
channels.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And I think the key would be to just have an idea list of like 10 things and do them in like 3 hours and then have somebody edit it
Yeah.
into little
Yep.
shorts. Because
Yeah.
doing them one by one is just never going to happen.
That's true. Yeah. And also, like, just like the other thing I keep noticing. So, we do this monthly newsletter, and Katarina, who's writing them, is basically every month like asking us what's new in the product for like a featured like the new thing like that should be featured in that email. And I always keep thinking like sometimes there's a new thing, but sometimes there's not. And when there's not, we just don't have that section in there. But I keep thinking that just like promoting the old features from like 5 years ago is probably still better than having nothing in there. Because for some,
I'm
as
pretty
you just said,
sure we talked about this
we
before
talked
because I was
about this
saying
before.
Brian Cassell did that really well in some of his
Right.
newsletters where it was just
Yeah.
like quick tip or like have you seen, and it's not, if you've never seen it you feel like it's new, but if you've
Yeah,
seen it it's a
exactly.
reminder. You don't have to say like we deployed this 5 years ago. You can just be like quick
Yeah,
tip.
just did you know you can do
Yeah,
this, right? Yeah, we should just like do this more. I'm not. Yeah, again, no excuses. Just like
yeah,
stuff
but you
happens
kind
and
of
doesn't
just
happen.
need like a bank of it's a
Just need a
it's a one
library
it's
of those, right?
yeah, it's a high kind of initial investment. But then it's a very small investment. Like if you have 20 of them, that's all you need to start. And then whenever
Right.
you have a new thing that's being announced, you add it to the library and it will just keep on growing. And then maybe once a year you look at like what are some features people aren't using that they should be using, and then you add another 5 or 10,
Yeah.
and then Katerina would just pick. Um,
Yeah. And I
but it's
guess it
a
could be easily combined with like the video snippets, right? I feel like those go
mm-hmm,
hand in hand.
mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm looking to do. Maybe we should both. By the end of this year, Outseta and Userlist has a
Right.
library of feature tips that we can include whenever there's a lack of new things.
A while ago, we started adding like we have internally like a big list of features that we support.
Mhm.
Like it's not actually there's no screenshots or anything or like even long descriptions, but like we started collecting all the tiny little things that we do and can like support or like that are possible. Um, so we have part of that, but we're still not making use of it. So yeah, ah. So much
Because I guess
stuff we could.
Katerina could make the videos. Like you don't have to be the product
Yeah, Jane
developer
had
to
this
make the
sort of
videos.
project for last year to more of those videos.
Hmm.
But then I think it fell off
Hmm.
the list of priorities.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if she's going to get back to it this year, but it's still one thing on our radar
Yeah.
that we want to.
But it's one of those things that is, I think, also, could be outsourced to somebody who knows the product fairly well. Because I mean, it needs to be done from a user perspective, not a look at this great engineering perspective or
Yeah, I'm probably the wrong one to do those videos. That's for sure.
That's why a little bit why I just tried to stay out of engineering at Outseta. I could open up the code, the code base and start contributing,
Mm,
but um, I don't know if that's where I should put my efforts because we do have, people who are really good at that, and
yeah.
like trying to stay in a, obviously I have more knowledge now, so I'm not a, a complete user, but I feel like I still have more like of a user perspective where I don't understand exactly how it works behind the hood. So I'm like, why does it act like this? Instead of just knowing that I should always click on this thing before that thing, otherwise it's not gonna work as I
Right.
expect
Yeah.
it to. And so it's a little bit helpful, at least in empathy with the users that come or the support tickets, where it's
Hmm.
like, you know, it's not you, it's an us problem, not a you problem.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
user.
That
And then I also
happens
got
more than others, yeah.
yeah, and then I got to do
Yeah.
some real coding the other day.
Not
So I've
better
been
or what?
coding a new for we. So for we, I did a new booking flow for handouts and inside of the beast of a next application that I've inherited. And I still have, I mean, next cache things on so many levels. I don't even, I ended up with like a window replace because I was like, this page needs to reload. I have no idea where, because next now, or I guess React caches on like the fetch level. So
Hmm.
if you use the fetch, the standard fetch that comes with the browser, it caches on that level. And then we use Airtable that has fetch under the hood. So I don't have access to that fetch.
Hmm.
Um, so if you want to put on some different cache busting things, you have to do it on that fetch, or you have to do it on the page. But then it's also on the function. I don't know, but I got it to work. That's all I got to say.
Nice.
Uh, but getting into that feature, I find a really, really good use case for AI. And I might have mentioned it last time, but I asked AI to explain to me how the current booking feature worked.
Hmm.
Super helpful because like you're getting into code base you know nothing about. I mean, it could be your own code for 2 years ago, but in this case it's actually not my code. And just be like high level, let me how does booking work in this system. And it found the files, it gave me a high level view of what is happening. It did match what I experience as a user when I'm booking, and then I asked it to outline a new booking features that would be outside of the authenticated pages. And it did a pretty
Hmm.
good job of like taking the other one and kind of replicating it. And then I had to go in and do some actual coding. Um, but especially that explain part, I think is super helpful for people because I feel like all the talk about AI is like now everybody can code their own thing and you should go to Lovable or Bolt or whatever these things are called and just like spin up a new thing. I've tried several times and I never, and it's probably because I'm using it wrong, but I don't feel like I ever get anywhere with that because
Hmm.
there's like no precedence. But when you have a full code base, you have so much precedence. Not always good, but there's precedence and there's like something there. And it was really, really good at the explain and replicate or like explain and expand. So I feel like maybe AI is best on or like most useful on brownfield projects
Maybe, yeah.
because you've already set your own standard. Like in your code base, it's like the way you like it, and you can get help to do some of the things faster. And if you onboard someone, they can get help by asking like, how does this already work in the system, and they don't have to like click through all the files
Hmm.
themselves because AI is really really good at that.
What did you use for this? Like AI tools wise?
So I used Cursor. So I now have a pro version of Cursor
Hmm.
AI. So it's just Visual Studio Code with some AI on top. And I
Right.
also recommended that for our designer at Outseta because he started coding and he's doing really well, and he's really good at CSS and HTML, and he knows a little bit of JavaScript. But our code base is Angular, so there are things that he kind of like doesn't know. He knows like where he wants to go, and he said it's been super good for him because he said things like, okay, I want to move this into modal because we have some things in modals, and because the whole code base is there, he can say like, I want to move this piece into modal like over
Hmm.
here, and then it kind of helps him with that. And then our engineers review his pull requests, but he's been able to polish so much of the app by both because he's been learning to code, but it feels like it's really accelerated after I told him that he should try out Cursor. And he uses
Hmm.
it also a lot for like explaining like where does this like where is this feature? I want to improve on this UI. Like where does it actually exist in this code base? And yes, that's kind of cool. That's
Hmm.
kind of
That
cool.
sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried Cursor in the past, and for some reason I don't know, it didn't stick. But we have GitHub Copilot in VS Code, and I feel like it's catching up a little bit. I'm not saying that it's like surpassing Cursor, but they recently added this edit mode where you can like chat with it, and then you still have to
Hmm.
manually reference the files. Something like that. Build this new feature that looks like this other feature, and if you
Hmm.
add the files to the context, given you switch to one of the like also a new feature in Copilot is that it allows you to switch to a different model. And I
Hmm.
noticed that Claude is so much better than than whatever comes default with Copilot. So
Hmm.
like combine that with like adding the context and then using Claude, it actually produces decent code, and it wasn't that far off from what I actually wanted it to do, and it was pretty close to the existing code. So that was pretty impressive. And I think a new thing they have on the pre-release version of VS Code is basically the same thing, but instead of having to add the files manually, it has like this agent mode where it just like
Hmm.
proactively looks into your code base and picks out the things that are interesting. I haven't had that much success with that yet, but yeah, I feel like it's
But this is where
getting
I feel
tougher.
like it's scary because Claude has the agent mode, and if you go into full agent mode, it types things into your terminal, and I'm like, no, hell no, you are, like I will not let
Yep.
you type things into my terminal without me pressing a button, because my mom taught me you can delete your whole computer in the terminal, and that made me scared
Yep.
of terminals for like 20 years. But uh there's some truth to that, and this is
Yep.
where the whole like starting from scratch thing and like having going into that agent mode and having it fire up projects for you and creating directories and doing things in the terminal like shows my age, I guess. That's really because I'm like, no way, I'm letting this happen. Like I would have to get another computer to do that kind of stuff on. But I
With
did watch some videos, and I'll see if I can find the links to that, and we could put that in description, because I felt like with Cursor, like I didn't really know where to start, and like being an older programmer, you're like not, you set in your ways, and I did find some videos where I felt like it was for developers who know how to develop and not, for non-developers using or trying to develop. Um, and there was some like just good tips and workflows around how to use it. And I don't remember exactly what I picked from it, but I'm better now. So, but one of those things that I remember was that in Cursor, you can just say add code base, and it includes the whole code base as context. And this guy was
yeah.
like, I always just do add code base. Like we're not going to be picking out specific files, at least not for kind of this like overview work.
Right.
So when I was like, how does booking work? I was like, at code base, because I need you to look at the whole code base because I don't know where it is. That's the whole point. That's why I'm asking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think Copilot has add code base as well, and might be as usual might be me being stupid and not using it correctly. But that a couple of months ago, I tried using that to add a new like
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
add header support to our custom webhooks feature, and it just
Yeah.
came up with a lot of bullshit that was not doing what I wanted it to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, so I think like I feel like that, yeah. The like asking it to explain things in a code base that you don't really know well is super, that's I've found it to really, really shine and really be helpful.
It's
Um
been a while. I know this code base pretty well right now.
Exactly. But, if you were going to onboard somebody, it
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
super valuable. I think people will get, or at least seniors will get up to speed much, much faster if they kind of take this on board. Um,
right. Yeah.
so-
Mia is currently. I think I mentioned this. She has her first commit into backend code base, and I think she's using Cursor for this. However, I don't know to what extent, like
Mhm.
how much she's actually asking the thing. Um, but
I mean,
yeah,
it's like
like
having somebody who knows the code base there. It's like,
right,
why does it do X? Why does it do this line? What happens in this function that nobody commented? And you can get it, pretty. And every time I've asked it to explain something existing code, it's 100% correct because that is machine language. So it's, I've never seen it. It probably could because it's AI, but I never seen it then like explain to me something that the function is doing something that it's not doing. I've seen it
right,
create code that it means does something that it doesn't do. Like you have a fight with AI where like,
right.
it's not doing what you say is doing or what you tried to make it do. But in the kind of explaining high level stuff, oh, super, super good.
Hmm.
And you don't have to be a junior like asking, I think, um,
Right,
having to ask like the senior person all the time, but also I think we still need to talk to each other. So I'm not all sold on AI, but
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's probably not going to replace all of us at once. But yeah, I mean, I'm very much a skeptical person on all the AI stuff, but I'm starting to see that some of it is possibly useful. So yeah, just need to
I
play
but
around with it more.
I had this chat with a friend where I feel like we are so lucky, again, thankful because we have the experience, we can utilize it to become faster and do more. But if we were like 10 year earlier in our careers, I don't think it would have been beneficial. I think it would be very or for some maybe, but I think because I was talking to another CTO and he had interns and he was like everything was complete garbage. Like anything they did because they were like all on AI, and he was like, "Well, I need you to actually think for yourself and like create code that you believe is solving the purpose of this thing that I'm asking you to do, and just so much more code and like these like helper functions." And he was like, "This like none of their PRs were merged at all."
Right.
And I don't think you'd learn as much then, but like I feel like we are lucky
Yeah.
that we are at the right age where this is going to be helpful for us. We're going to be able to do more on our own, but what will happen to the new generation that we are not then mentoring or not taking in as interns or not because we can get the AI to do what they used to do. So I think that's going to be a
Mm,
pipeline issue. Um,
ma- more of a pipeline issue than we already
More
have, I
of a
guess.
pipeline issue,
Yeah,
but
yeah. You might be onto something there. Yeah. Well, let's see.
so I'm just thankful and I'm going to be using it. There will be demos coming out of Outseta at a higher speed, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's good. One thing I used Copilot and like that edit mode for was we had this one use case in Userlist that we didn't really have an answer for, and to be fully honest, we still don't have a answer merged. But there's this idea of like, what if you want to send someone an email when they have their birthday? And it sounds super easy, but once you start thinking about it, it's actually not that straightforward. Um, so, challenge to you: how would you do this?
Oh, don't ask me about like event-driven architecture. That's your that's
Now, do you have any idea how you'd approach this? Just out of curiosity, like no right or wrong
I don't know. I
answer.
would think that it would be kind of like an event that triggers something because you have events, you take events in and you send out emails on
Right,
those events. Then something has to create those events.
right. But
So you
what's
would
the thing that creates the events?
I don't know. I would probably just have something go through everyone every day and ask for their birthday. Or whenever they change, whenever I don't know where you would get the birthday, because you would get the birthday on the user record. I guess it would be a field on the user record.
Yeah.
So whenever that changed, you could schedule an event for that date.
See, that's where I started as well. And then I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but the birthday just happens once, right? That's
Mhm.
when they are born. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen every year. It's just a date timestamp that's like once. So
Yeah.
you
So
can't
when you've
really
sent out one birthday,
you're
when it's
recurring,
happened once, you have to reschedule for the next one.
and you have to figure out like when is the next one next year, and yeah, it
Mhm.
gets like it sounds so simple, but it gets like super challenging.
But for
And
the
then
system I work on that are much smaller, I would just like have a little thing that just like looks through them every day. Because my, in most of the, well, outside I would be different, but like in my personal things, I would have like what 1,000 users. Just
right,
not like I'll just loop through them.
right. But what about I have a friend who has a birthday on February 29.
Well, they wouldn't get any, of course.
They would only get their birthday wishes every 4 years.
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
how like how now you're just making it hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's just how I think about these things. Like,
Mhm.
if I want
I
a
guess it
solution,
would
I
be
want it
like
to
all
work, right?
calendar. I mean, could take a step back and see like how does notifications in Google Calendar work? Like what do they do? Because it's similar.
So one thing I learned is that if you have a birthday on the 29th, you will have a birthday on the 28th
Hmm.
in non-leap years. So I guess
Hmm.
that's something. But still, like, it took
But
me
it would
down a
be the
little bit of
same
a
as
path
like
to
the end of, because it's the same issue with, if you went into Google Calendar, said you wanted to be notified about something, or you want an event to happen every last day of the month. Like then you also need to like figure out what is the last, and there are libraries that do that for you, like figure out the last day of the month.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
true.
yeah.
But still, like,
Mhm.
it
But
becomes
do
a
you
bit
have
of a
it for anything else? Like if I have, because then I guess you don't have it if I had a field for something else. Like if I had a field for, I don't know what that would be, but yeah, when they sign, like if you want to get every year on the day you signed up, they should get you've been a member for 5 years.
right. Yeah,
That would be the same ish. That would be the same exact case.
exactly. Yeah. Or like if you break it down even more, um, if you're on a monthly billing cycle, you might want to send them not like an invoice a month after they signed up every single
Mhm.
month, I guess.
And we do that
So
in Outseta. I could ask how we do it.
I can tell you how I ended up doing it, or like
Mhm.
how AI and me ended up doing it. We built and that's where AI was actually helpful. So PostgreSQL, our database, allows you to build functions in basically their own dialect. And it has a lot of date matching functions or like date logic functions like date trunc and date part and whatnot. And we built a date match thing where you can pass in two dates and then an array of like parts of the date that you want to compare. And now we just like for like the birthday or the annual reminders or stuff like that, we do the sign up day or the birthday, the today, and then an array with date and month. And then we just like extract those parts from both values, compare them with the added thing that for the days we make sure that it doesn't exceed like the month. So for the
Mhm.
29th, we would map it to the 28th. And if we are like doing this monthly, the 31st would be the 30th and so on.
Mhm.
And that worked for at least all the use cases I could think of for now. Well,
And then
except
that
for
function creates an event into your regular system, or
basically the way it works right now is that you can use this as a filter for like a segment or something like
Mhm.
that. And because we're reevaluating them on a regular basis, that would basically give you all the people
Mhm.
that have a birthday today. Or because the two values are flexible, you can do stuff like who have a birthday a week from now or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
The only other thing that I'm like, that's basically done. I haven't merged it because
Mhm.
I and I guess that's a bad habit of myself of like, I have a solution that basically solves the problem, but now I figured out another problem that I want to solve on top of that. And that's stuff like, give me everyone who has a birthday coming up in the next month, like in the entirety of the next month, because right now I can just do today, a month from now, like that day in 30 days, and get me everyone there, but I
But not
cannot get
everyone whose
everyone.
birthday is in April, I want to send them a promo.
Exactly. Yeah. It just doesn't work
Spring
like that.
babies promo.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, again, I should probably just merge it, but now I have this other problem that I need to figure out, and I have not yet figured out
But
how to do that.
merging this doesn't mean that you can solve the next problem, because you can refactor how this works, and for the user it will still look the same. I mean, you can rip out this whole solution for the next.
Yeah.
So I
In
would say merge
theory,
it. Merge
yes,
it so that you can,
you're
get a
probably
feel
right.
for how it actually works.
But yeah, you're right. I should just merge it and then think about the next thing. But it's so hard to just like let it go and not like try to figure out the ultimate solution.
Yeah. I know the feeling. But I've learned a little bit from like seeing things that are so cobbled together working, because our booking system does that. It's I think it's a make automation that goes through every booking for today. Like, it asks for all the bookings for today or tomorrow. And then it sends up an SMS and an email to that person. But like, we'll never have more than 5 bookings in a day. And I think like it asking Airtable, so it sends a filter to Airtable, and Airtable is smart, so it doesn't send back everything. This thing has been working, so I have not touched it, but I have to touch it a little bit now because we need to get the handout reminders as well, or I may have to make that work. And I think it's going to work within the existing system, but it's going to be fun to kind of like, I at least have to like walk through to give myself peace of mind that it should work. And with this kind of a system, I can't really test because we don't have a test environment, because it's all just like live data. So I'm going to be booking something, and then I'm going to be waiting for my reminders. That's how we roll at We. Because we don't have the resources to set up take the time to set up a full. It should have been done from the beginning, but it wasn't. So now it's pretty. So I was like flooding. I was flooding the system with bookings yesterday, and then I kept deleting them just so they wouldn't show up at the workshop. But then I forgot to delete one. So the people at the workshop did it cancel. She's already been in. So suddenly I got an email. So the system is working because they were like, I booked a handout, and they were like, this is incorrect. Like, so they canceled. There's like a cancel booking flow, and then you can write in why it was canceled. So suddenly I got an email where my booking was canceled. So then I went into the operations Slack, and I was like, I will keep flooding the system with bookings. Please ignore.
Nice.
Well, anyway, good chat.
Yes, this was a good chat. And it actually turned out pretty long.
That's because we started talking architecture.
Yeah, we got into code, I guess.
Which is fun.
You have to go climbing now.
I think she's gonna be arriving any minute now, and then we'll jump on our bikes and go climbing to get there, because we realized at like 5 the climbing center is flooded with after work people. So we want to get there as early as possible, because it was nicer when it was less people.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, have fun climbing. Don't hurt yourself.
Thank you. Well, this is a whole point. Like, I'm doing a sport where I supposedly am not going to be able to hurt myself as easily as when I'm riding a bitchy horse. So we'll see if that is true. And I tried to stop myself. Like, when I felt I was tired after my 20 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to let the others keep on climbing. But I'm not doing it. Nice. Trying to be mindful.
Cool. Well, then have a great time, and talk to you in 2 weeks.
See you around the interwebs.
See ya. Bye.